Hi guys, I'm Danny, and I started a Sunday gym because I've noticed lately that people tend to go to colleges and universities without actually knowing why they're there. And afterwards, starting jobs that are unfulfilling. So I'm interviewing different professionals to see what they have to say and share their knowledge and experience with you. I hope you enjoy it. Right on, Tahmina, thanks for being with me. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
I saw the resume. It's an absolute joy that I'm having you. Thanks for being with me. It'd be amazing. The program will be focused on three main questions. What do you do for a living? How did you get there? And how did you knew that this was the way to go? So that's what you do for a living, please.
Yeah, well, I am an immigration lawyer in the United States.
Speak a little bit louder for me, please.
Yes, yes. Hang on one second. Good question. Let's see. Did this come up? Is this a bit louder, by the way?
I think so.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
you're also beautiful, so don't cover that face. You look
You're
tremendous.
so kind. So kind. So I am a U.S. Immigration lawyer. I practice business immigration law and primarily businesses that are just starting up or businesses that are small to medium and hiring people. So that's what business immigration is. I often am referred to as the startup visa lawyer. I've written a number of books on visas for startups, whether they're founding the companies or hiring new people. I'm in Seattle, Washington. I had my own sleepless in Seattle moment when I moved to America. I met my dream man and then I got married and moved to Seattle in 2005. And then I started practicing immigration law in 2006. But immigration was not my first choice. In fact, it was the choice that I did not want to have. And it kept following me until I said, okay, universe, I'll practice
Yeah.
immigration for a few months and then I'll give up and do something else. And I haven't looked back.
Yeah, I was about, you have no idea how often I'm hearing that story that I really didn't want to do it. And now, my mother was like that. My mother's a dentist. She really didn't want to be a dentist. She wanted to be a cardio doctor or something like my grandfather, like her father. But yeah, and she ended up being a dentist. She's loving it. Been practicing 42 years now. It's pretty good.
Wow.
Me,
Wow.
on the other hand, I was, I think, 15, maybe 16 when I knew exactly what I was going to do. And I'm doing it. So
Oh, that's fantastic. That's
now,
fantastic.
you were about to say it. Were you like walking the street one day and you were like, "Okay, let's do it, universe," or did something else lead you to it? This
I
was
always
specific.
wanted to be a lawyer. What I wanted to do was be a lawyer, like your mom. I wanted to be a lawyer. And but I wanted to practice litigation. I had this fantasy in my head, and I was born and raised in London, so listeners should know if they've tuned into my accent and wondering where I'm from. I was born and raised in London, and I was a barrister in the United Kingdom. And the barrister goes to court every day. That's the job, trial lawyer. And I really wanted to do that in my life. And when I moved to the United States, the law is different, the
Yeah.
procedures are different, everything is different. So it took a lot of reinventing to figure out where I'm going to fit into this legal system. And I didn't want to practice criminal defense law that I was doing in the UK. It's very different in the US.
Yeah.
And immigration kept following me. I got three job offers and I said, no, thank you to immigration. No, thank you. No, thank you. And then the fifth time, I'm like, okay, I'll do this one because I can't get anything else. And that's how it really happened. But honestly, what I wanted to get out of my life as a lawyer was to help people directly see the changes and the impact I'm making. And I wanted to practice a law that was intellectually challenging and stimulating. And immigration, once I started practicing it, showed me that this is exactly the area that I always wanted to practice without even knowing.
You kind of covered that, and because my third question is, how did you knew that this was the way to go? However, the reason I'm asking is because I know that what you said about London and England. Not only that, I have dear friends from England. I have dear friends from Scotland. The law system between those two countries is quite different. Believe it. I couldn't believe it. They actually gave me real life examples. So I can only imagine the difference between the United States and the United Kingdom. Because
That's right.
yeah, it's quite something.
Yeah.
Now, I'm asking the question, how do you know that this was the way to go? Because I'm sure you've noticed that too. People tend to go to colleges, universities, and again, now I kind of have to say it all the time because they kind of crucify me a bit in the comment section. I am not against higher education and academia. I have a master's degree, a bachelor degree. I was about to start PhD. I'm totally fine with those things. What I'm not fine with is that people are going there clearly some and probably most time they aren't for that specific place. Yet they've been accepted. They lose 4, 5, sometimes 6 years of their life, which is a lot, especially for a young person. They get out of there, they start working something that's clearly, again, not for them. They're miserable. Now, if you're on your own, I guess you can be miserable. I guess that's fine. I don't consider it fine. But you know what? The problem is when you meet the specific one, the serious person for your life, and then you got kids. Now you can fake it for a while, but you can't really fake it for a long time. That reflects a lot. And I really see it as a problem. And like, how did you knew that this was the way to go? And I want to also highlight something else. At least here in Southern Europe, where I'm from, there are three main professions that you can't really play around with. Now, once you're in there, you just have to be in there all the time. Those are doctors, lawyers, engineers. Everything else, I studied accounting and business administration. During my studies, I was a bartender, I worked at Subway, I was drunk for about 25% of the time. It was a pretty good time. It was nice. I like that. You can't do that with those two professions because those are incredibly specific. You did say that you've always wanted to. Clearly, you're a very intelligent woman, clearly charming. You could have done any number of things. Why did you decide to go in that specific direction? What happened?
Mhm. I'm going to come to this answer in just a moment, but I want to touch on something you just said. You said something about you can't fake it for a long time. You
Yeah,
know, if you're on your own, maybe you can be miserable, but you can't be miserable when you have people around you, particularly if you have kids. You
yeah.
know, this is brand new information. It just happened this morning that I published a journal called Finding Joy.
Okay.
Discover what lights you up. Now, whether you're a doctor or a lawyer and you're in the path of stress, or whether you're a parent with children, or whether you live in the United States and are worried about the 2025 landscape, the only way that we can get through life is if you make yourself happy.
Yes.
And that is so hard to do because we are conditioned to follow your parents' dreams, follow what society says, exactly what you said, 6 years of studying only to find that you don't like it.
Yeah.
Um, but you could like your job, but you could get burned out too.
Oh, yeah.
And and then life takes it out of you. So how do you keep a sustainable interest in all the things that you have, and how do you be the best person for everybody around you, but particularly your children? Because
Yeah.
you are the mirror for your children. And you know, I'm not perfect. I'm still learning. You know, I'm learning. I've been on a journey for the last 5 years, and it culminated in this journal that just released this morning called Finding Joy. Currently only on Amazon, but it will be published elsewhere.
Feel
It's
free
been
to give me the link. I don't mind putting it in the description below.
Oh, that'd be amazing. And it's a precursor to a book that I'm writing called Chasing Joy.
I'm having you for part two.
Oh, I can't wait. Well, thank you. But coming back to your question, how did I know? I knew I wanted to be a lawyer, but I knew I didn't want to be an immigration lawyer. I knew that because when I was growing up in the United Kingdom, my father was an immigration lawyer, and he was filing a lot of asylum cases. I saw asylum day in and day out. And you may know this, Denny, that the asylum laws are complicated no matter which country you live in. But the stories are heartbreaking. People are
Yeah.
fleeing their countries to protect their lives and their children and their spouses and their loved ones. And sometimes they don't make it from point A to B, they die on the way.
Yeah.
And the stories are horrific. So I didn't really want to practice an area of law that would just be heartbreaking day in and day out. I do actually help asylum seekers right now in my, as a pro bono, organizer. I organize situations, and I'll talk about that later. So when immigration kept following me and I moved to this country, I said no because I had this misconception that US immigration law was only about asylum too, or immigration law was only about asylum. So when I was looking for a job, I moved from the United Kingdom. My degree and credentials look very different in the United States. You know,
Yeah.
the technology is different. You know, how did you go from this to that? And how did you become a lawyer? What does a barrister mean? You know, barrister didn't mean anything in this country until George Clooney married one, you
To be
know?
honest, your driving license probably didn't matter because it's a different way to drive there.
Oh my gosh, I actually didn't drive. I didn't know how to drive. Dependent on, the tube and the buses on public transport. That's part of my book. I'm writing about my driving adventures now in my Chasing Joy book because I
For
didn't
the
know any.
record, and for my audience, I did not had a prep talk with them. I did not. That just happens every now and then. I just happen to vibe with my guests. That's it. I didn't.
Well, it's such an honor. It's just such an honor. And so anyway, when I was looking for a job, and my resume looked so different to other candidates. I wasn't getting a job. And bear in mind, I had to go through the immigration system in the United States. And so by the time I got my green card, it was like, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, but I was working. And so when immigration kept following me and the third job came, I said, no, thank you, no, thank you. And the fourth one came, I said, no, thank you. The fifth one, I thought, okay, I need to pay attention. And I thought, okay, I'm not getting other options. I'm just going to do this. I'll do this for 5 years. And your listeners may not know this, but the United States has 50 states. That
Yeah.
means 50 different types of laws and 50 different types of bar licenses. And there are very strict rules about what kind of law you can practice in which state. Immigration happens to be federal, which means the law actually
Yeah.
applies all around the country. And that meant with a New York bar exam that I had taken, and I live in Washington State, it would be an area that I could practice. So when I thought about it for the fifth time, I thought, well, let me just do this for a while and then I'll find what I like. But it was day one that I was convinced that this is for me. I saw my clients, they were very smart, intelligent business people who are only chasing their own dreams to set up their business, expand their business in the United States. That's the kind of person I wanted to work with. The
That's the
dream.
best surrounding you can have.
Yes, I learn from my clients all the time. I have a small group of women founders, women entrepreneurs who have done such amazing work. And I learn from them, I get inspired by them, but I worked so hard for years and years to get their green cards. That's the type of person. But day one is when I realized the three things I was looking for. Immigration is complicated, intellectually stimulating and challenging. It is something that's going to keep me interested for a long time. I'm touching somebody's life immediately, and I get to see the change that will happen within a short amount of time. I'm not a transactional lawyer sitting on, the penthouse floor of a big law firm pushing paper. I am actually seeing the difference right away, and it's not asylum. Immigration law can be anything you want it to be. In the United States, I say immigration has three buckets: business immigration, family immigration, and humanitarian immigration. And you can do all three of them, but most of the times people will do any two. And typically, anybody who goes to court in immigration will do family, but not business. But people who do business can do family. So typically, that's how you would work on this. But my clients are just amazing. I'm so honored to work with them every day.
I love it when you said that it challenged you intellectually and it keeps on doing it. Now, I was a kid. I don't even remember how old I was. I was like a small kid. And I remember people telling me how their fathers or themselves been working at the same place for 40 years. And even back then, now, don't get me wrong, I love stability. This is why I've always tried to purchase property. That because properties, it gives you that sense of stability. You know, clearly not as stable as the Pope, but just, having it something that's yours. It's yours, nobody can take it from you. So I'm all in for stability, but this whole concept of working at the same factory, the same plant, the same 40 years, this is insane. And I have seen men with my own eyes at the age of 70. Those guys was like so strong. They were superhero strong. Then they retired, and 5 years later, the decay is it's like a slow death because they simply let go. There's nothing to challenge you anymore. There's nothing to that, you know, you deem important. This is danger, and I've seen it. I'm telling him this. Those men were like from Krypton or something. I don't know how to explain, but like way stronger for their age. Then for 5 years, it's done. It's over. And it's ridiculously important to get out of the comfort zone. And I'm fighting the devil within me every day to get out of the comfort zone because, man, I'm telling you, it's really good. There's this experiment I saw on LinkedIn of all places. They put a frog in a boiling water. You seen that?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, so the frog is
Oh,
nice and warm, and by the time it has to go, it can't because the muscles don't work anymore. This is what the comfort zone does to us, and I'm really happy to see that you keep pushing. That's super important.
that's very kind. Sometimes, I love what you said about you're working within the devil within you all the time. I think
Yeah.
it's important that we are always challenging ourselves. And I can't help it. I'm always, thinking about how else am I helping people? I guess service is my middle name in many ways, like how am I serving people? But when you have challenging situations, and we are about to embark upon a very challenging time in the United States in January 2025. And as an immigration lawyer,
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not very familiar with that region because I'm mostly, focused on Europe. Uh, is there something that's going on in there? Because that's a
mm,
specific date. Like normally people are dealing with quarters and New Year,
yeah,
January
good
25.
question. Well, most people will know that we had an election recently. And
Yeah.
the election is going to result in a new administration on January 20th. So, January
Okay.
20th is when we get a new president. But this particular administration that is coming in has a lot of plans about what immigration should look like in this country. And that means a lot of immigrants in this country will start facing some very severe challenges. And so, as an immigration lawyer, I am trying to
Oh, yeah, I got you now.
understand how am I going to be helping them? How am I going to be helping the community? Those are some of the things that I am thinking about right
Wait,
now.
but weren't the elections like last month or something?
Yes, so the
You
system
need
here,
3 months to get from one administration to the other?
uh-huh, yeah, very much,
Oh,
very much.
interesting. Well, I mean, it's a big place, I understand. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
now I don't know much about the United States. 'Cause people have been asking me if I ever visit, and I'm joking, of course, but I've always said that I visited once during the revolution, and that was when I played Assassin's Creed 3. It was so realistic, I counted as visiting. But all that aside, my career started in 2012, and back then it was a very severe period. There weren't a lot of good working places. It was rough for those that remember. So I started in the government sector. And you said that this is a federal thing, so I guess again, governor stuff. Now, I can just give you my advice because it's very universal, very applicable. Don't take it to heart. Have you seen this old movie? It's 20 years old, plus minus, with Johnny Depp. He was playing a pirate. Have you seen it?
Oh, the Pirate of the Caribbean?
That one, yes.
Okay.
He's walking into a ship, and the crew is part of the ship. Do you remember that?
Yes, uh-huh.
This is what the government looks like. Those people talk big and they move tremendously slow. They're part of the building. So don't take it to heart. I know you've been doing it for years. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but just don't take it to heart. Don't think about it. Don't let this burn you.
I am
You're
so
like,
grateful. So grateful. That was some of the wisest words that somebody has said to me. I really appreciate that.
yeah. And I've served under 5 government administrations. They were left, they were right, they were center, but they was the same. It was just so don't take it to heart. Yes, things change, but so slowly. our children are going to know that things have changed. We probably wouldn't. Now, I have a fourth question. I never put it in the invitation because I love the reaction. I know you can talk about this for days, but if you can just top of your head, if you can give my audience one advice, my audience is mostly people that are, sitting in a job, wondering if is this job for me or not, sitting in lectures, is this for me or not? If you can give those people one advice, what will it be?
Find what lights you up, whether it's your studies or not. Find something that makes you sing from your heart, because if that is what you do, whether it's in your, spare time, whether you're just walking outside and seeing the green leaves or the beautiful flowers, whatever brings you joy, do that, because it will help you figure out what really matters in life and how you have the life that you deserve. Each of us deserves to be happy. And it is not the thing that we are taught in school. We are not taught in school or by society that we have to love ourselves. And
Yes.
that is the thing that I would love for people to know, is that you were born to love yourself, but you are born into a society which does not even mention it or encourage it. And the ripple effect of that is hate and wars and everything else. But from an individual level, it's stagnance, life, boredom, wondering what you need to do. And once you connect with yourself within, life will unfold in the way it's meant to be for you.
I love it. And before I let you go, I'm gonna let you go with a story. Dear friend of mine, I've known him since more than 20 years. He was an IT guy. He was a programmer, coding and stuff like that. He was tremendously well paid, like extremely well paid. Like the guy made in a month what I did for a whole year. And I was, I've always been in finance. We're not exactly poor, but he did like super well. He was miserable, and he wasn't an outdoor guy. He doesn't do hiking and whatnot, but one day he decided to. And I remember that story when you said about the leaves, because I'm kind of a gardener myself,
I can see that.
and I don't even remember why he was, around nature and stuff like that. But he was. He quit his job. That was 10 years ago, and he became a painter. And he's making pretty good money as well. But he's painting like that, plants, nature, stuff like that.
Wow, good for him. You
Yeah,
know, so I started doing bird photography during COVID. And that's really how all of this, journey began. That my camera started to grow and grow. And, now I have to do weight training to carry that camera. But that camera has been transformative in how I am viewing the world, but how I am actually taking charge of my life in different ways. I mentioned I didn't drive before, but to
yeah.
find birds, I'm driving at midnight hours, early morning hours, difficult, challenging drives, easy drives. It's I'm having an adventure, and I'm always in excitement of what I'm going to be seeing next and doing next. And that kind of excitement about life, being in awe of the universe, that there's magic around us. We just don't see it. And that's what your friend has shown, that he found the magic.
COVID, and I'm catching hell all the time for saying it, but COVID was a blessing in disguise for many people. For many people, it was hell, but the world was out of control. It was way too dynamic, it was way too crazy, and I am glad that we hit that break over there. Because, my I've always been an indoors guy. I'm an old school gamer. I started gaming in '96, and I'm still doing it. So this whole studio thing, this is where my gaming takes place. So yeah, and the only, well, not the only, but one of the most interesting things I did during COVID was because I ordered a new screen, and there was this cardboard box, and I had really nothing better to do, so I made a Darth Vader helmet of it, like the whole thing. And that was a time that I needed a new loan to purchase, my apartment, and masks were mandatory. And I'm walking into a bank, and it was the winter, so I'm always, I have, a polo shirt. I'm always like that, and a black coat, black trousers, black shoes, and black gloves. It's always like that in the winter. So I'm walking into it with the Vader mask, and the security guy looking at me. He like, oh, hey, hey, calm down, man. Here, get the mask off, and I'm taking the mask off. And I'm sitting in front of the clerk, and she's like, put your mask on. And I'm putting the mask on. Hey, I told you to. It was crazy. But, I don't really watch TV, so I have to amuse myself somehow. And that's pretty much what I'm doing in my
That's a
free time.
funny story. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Well, how creative though. I mean, how many times have you made a Darth Vader mask? I mean, how creative. COVID gave you that time to do that.
Oh yeah, I've been doing it mostly for fun anyways, but because I really didn't like the concept of the regular mask, and I decided to make that one. And then I had to buy a bigger backpack because, I kind of have to store it somewhere. So,
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. But I'm so glad that you had that experience. My husband actually grew his beard during COVID because he's like, well, nobody's going to see me. And it grew so long. And, I was like, well, happy husband has be happy life, keep it, do whatever. But then there came a time he had to see clients. And, this is like 10 months later. And I'm like, don't cut your beard yet. I need to take photos. So I actually did costume pictures. I did Harry Potter, I did Dumbledore, I did Sailor, I did so many different pictures, family. I mean, we had so much fun. I have these beautiful memories. It's not going to happen again, but
yeah.
oh, I was like a sailor picture. I had a sailor dress. My kids had sailor dresses. He had his pipe with his beard. Um, for Dumbledore, I got the entire Dumbledore outfit, and he's got his beard and his glasses. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. So it's sort of like your Darth Vader mask. We had a similar experience.
I've always loved Harry Potter. I think it was probably it came out when the book came out, the first book came out when I was, I think, 10 or 11. And I have this severe case of dyslexia. I have trouble reading. But no, it was so interesting. I even have them all here.
Oh yeah, look at that. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Huh, amazing. Yeah.
And I keep rereading them every now and then because I really love them.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Me too.
And with that said, Tamita, thanks for being with me. I really appreciate it. I'm definitely having you for part two. You're just
Oh,
way too charming.
thank you so much for having me. And thank you for doing this type of podcast to inspire people and let them know that life is not, linear. It can
Yeah,
be whatever you want it to be. You just need to know that you can be different if you want to.
perfectly said. Have a nice day.
Take care. Bye bye.
Guys, I hope this one was useful. Please follow the channel on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Gap, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Ring the bell and all the good stuff. Have a nice week ahead, and I'll see you next Sunday.